Good day and greetings to the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 128 of a year of change. Today we are going to get back into the groove of things. You may not need to get back into it, but before we get started, I will let you know I went way over yesterday. Not sure what happened. There were no triggers, there were no things that I went, I just need to eat to get rid of the pain. Alright. There was nothing that really happened that was different. I noticed near the end of the day that I had just gone over, and then I thought, okay, well, I can do my treadmill, which I did, and thought, that'll be okay. And then went way over again. So I figured I would let you guys know. A ridiculous amount over. Like, probably twice or more. It got to a point I'm going to just not track this day on MyFitnessPal because it's so bad. And it wasn't just that mindless eating. It wasn't eating till I was stuffed. I was legitimately hungry because I stopped and went, am I just eating to eat, or am I actually hungry? And no, I was actually hungry. And even when I was finished eating, I had to force myself to stop because I was still hungry. And when I need to stop because it's ridiculous the amount that is going in, and at that point I would have had to do at least 2 or 3 hours on the treadmill just to break even. So it was one of those things that I don't have an excuse, obviously. Don't have a reason, don't know why either, so I'm not much good to you. It's just a really weird, bad day. So, not a bad day as in anything bad happened. Just any day like any other. I wasn't bored, I wasn't sad, I wasn't excited, nothing. I just was physically hungry and just ate a bunch of shit that I really shouldn't have. So, I figured I would start out with that, let you guys know. You can go up and look at my diary, but not all the stuff is up there. It's still pretty bad. It's really fucking bad. But all the stuff isn't on there because at the end of it, I'm like, it's just going to be such a ridiculous number. So, to give you an idea, I went in, just did a quick one-off to weigh in this morning, and I'm assuming there's a bunch of different things. I don't want to make excuses, obviously, and say, well, it could be poop in there, it could be still leftover food, but I am I'm 2.4 pounds heavier this morning than I was yesterday. So there's 2.5 pounds of food at least that I ate yesterday. So just to give you an idea of how bad it is, I don't think those 2.5 pounds are going to stay on there. We will know at the beginning of next week. But that's a tremendous amount of food to put in. Like, to have 2.5 pound difference in a day is crazy. So anyway, back on track today. Things are going to have to be where they're supposed to be. But I thought it best to sort of tell you guys that right up front. If we are going to be honest, this is part of it. And although I didn't track all the food that's in there because it's just horrendous, I figured I would let you guys know, just so that at least you know that there are still those days when, yes, I have obviously a day when I just go out of control. It was weird though, because it still, like, I didn't even eat to the point where I was full. I still wasn't full. And I wasn't hungry, and it's not that I was eating high calorie foods or anything like that. It's just, I don't know. Actually, the only thing I can think of is, I had bought some pizzas. They're just the thin crust one, and I figured, no, I can make those and, have that throughout the day. When I used to buy these, and this isn't a reason, this isn't an excuse, just saying. When I used to buy them, it would be nothing to have one pizza as just a meal. But now I'll have like 1 or 2 pieces and I'll be fine. So I don't know if it was just that and me lazy and not thinking and going, screw it, I'm just going to get in that old habit. But again, I was legitimately hungry, so I don't know. Again, not an excuse, not even a reason for it. I have no reason, I have no excuse. It was just a really bad day all the way around. So, back on track today. Doing treadmills, staying below my calories, everything else. This it's really shitty because it's the first day that I've actually gone over in a long, long time. Um, I don't even know when the last time was that I went over. So just trying to figure out numbers that way. I would go back and take a look at MyFitnessPal, but the problem is that whatever your current calorie count is, when you go into your history, it assumes that it's been that same calorie count the whole time. So, you know, it doesn't. It'll say, "Oh, I went over every single day for the past 6 months." So it's a little weird that way, which is kind of a shame because I kind of like to know when the last day was that I went over. It's long enough that I don't remember anyway, so that's good. And I think it's been a long time, so it's kind of shitty that I did that. It was stupid. I should have just stopped early on and said, okay, no, just be hungry and stay below, but I didn't. So anyway, getting back on track today, get back to where we need to be and everything else, or where I need to be. You guys have probably been fine, but so yes, back on track, back to where I'm going to be. I keep saying that. I'm going to stop now. And today I'm actually going to bring up something that I mentioned earlier on last week. And it's not a big major health thing. It's just one of those interesting things that, we see all the time. People have always said that there is that discrepancy between men and women when it comes to pay. And although that's somewhat true, that discrepancy doesn't, a lot of the time, there are other things that are taken into account. Like, women tend to go after jobs. This isn't a stereotype. This is just fact. Women tend to go after jobs that are much more personal and sort of focus on like healthcare and teaching and sort of nurturing jobs that way. And men tend to go after the, hey, I'm macho man. I'm going to go and fight crime and fires and fish. So that's a lot of where that salary discrepancy comes from. When it comes to doing the exact same job for the exact same pay, I think there is still a little bit of a discrepancy, but it's like less than 5%. But, and that's going to start a whole topic up there. I know it's $71 on every cent, or 71 cents on every dollar. It's not. Overall, it is. But when you take into account the exact same job for the exact same pay, that sort of thing, like doing the exact same tasks and all things being equal, there is still a bit of a discrepancy, but I think I want to say 3%, but I don't know. Anyway, one thing that it is affected is, when it comes to pay, is our weight. And this one is a little strange because it's not the same overall. And I'll put an article in the description below. It's actually from Forbes from 3 or 4 years ago. Regarding different salary differences from the Department of Redundancy Department. Salary differences between men and women, and in fat women and thin women, and fat men and thin men. And what they found was that once, we'll start with women, that salary discrepancy, thin women got paid much, much more than overweight women, to a certain point. And basically what happens is that once they reach that certain weight, then that salary difference doesn't really change a whole lot. The argument was that, well, once you've sort of violated that, okay, you're no longer thin, then you're no longer successful, so that's where your pay starts. So the difference between someone who weighs 100 pounds and someone who weighs 150 pounds is a huge difference. But someone who weighs 150 compared to someone who weighs 200, or 200 to 250, or 250 to 300, that gap gets smaller. And they think that it seems to be that appearance that, well, you're already fat, so you're already unsuccessful. So, there isn't much difference in pay that way. But there is that perception that, if you're fat, then you're lazy. I think that's part of it. And the same went for men. Men that were deemed overweight, they got paid much, much less than normal weight men. And it goes the same way. However, with men, there is also a discrepancy between normal weight and thin men. And I think where fat men they're viewed as being lazy and, just, there have been people that have said, I will never hire a fat person for my business because they're too lazy, which is really fucking annoying. Physically, we may be lazy, but it's just one of those stereotypes. Anyway, I won't get into that. But skinny men, on the other hand, ones that were considered to be underweight, are seen as anxious and nervous and afraid all the time, which is kind of weird. So they were paid less as well. So there's an ideal for men in business that when you're outside of that, your pay drops dramatically. And it's in the tens of thousands of dollars for different salaries and things like that. I think it's somewhere between 10 and 15, if I remember correctly. I may be wrong. Go take a look at the article. So there is a vast difference. This isn't a matter of saying, well, they're getting paid 50 cents less an hour or something like that. No, these are thousands of dollars per year that there's a difference. And with women, there really wasn't any lower, I'm not sure how far they went, but there wasn't any lower limit. But anything above a certain weight, basically, your salary just dropped off again. So although they don't really go into what businesses are doing this or anything else, I think a lot of it is simply just that perception. Like when you go into your interview, and we've all done this, you've gone into the interview and you know right away that you're not getting the job. Regardless as to what it is, if it's a desk job or if it's something that's going to be physical, that they will look at you, and the majority of people, they make up their mind during that first minute of greeting. When you first go into a job interview and you introduce yourself, that's when they've made the decision whether or not they're going to hire you. The rest of the questions and all the other bullshit doesn't mean anything. They've made that decision already. Not just just because we're fat people. It's across the board. So for any of you that are looking for a job, when you first go in, during that first minute, that's when you get the job. Period. Unless you go in and say, and they're like, oh, I want to hire this person. Then you say, I don't have any skills. I've never had a job, and I hate everyone, and I'm going to shoot up the place. You probably won't get the job then. But it's during that first minute, that's when you make that impression, that's when you get the job. And they've proven this time and time again. Anyway, it's unrelated, sorry. But when you're going in, if you're too fat or if you're too thin, that during that first minute, then of course, it doesn't matter how many skills you have, it doesn't matter what experience you have, it doesn't matter how personal you are, or personable, I should say, you are, that they've already made up their mind. Like, no, I'm not hiring this person, obviously. Look at them. Like, they're too fat, they're going to sit around, they're not going to do any work. And it is that stereotype that sort of goes in there with it. With men being too thin, they often look at them and say, no, they're too anxious, I don't want that. And it's not probably a conscious thing. But I don't think that there are too many people that go out there and will look at someone, aside from, I can't remember who it was, that said, it was a CEO of a company and said, no, I will never hire a fat person. I will find out who it is and I will put it on the screen. And where was I? There we go. I think it's a subconscious thing that when they look at them, it's just that's the impression that they get from them. And it's not, just a little incident here and there. This is across the board. That everyone sees them this way. That if you're too thin, as a man anyway, then you're anxious and it's just going to be too much trouble. If you're too fat as a man, well then you're going to be lazy and oafish and bumbling around and everything, so we don't want to hire you that way. So there is a very narrow margin where not only will you get hired, but where you get paid the proper amount for your job. And I mean, you're not really going to ever know if you get hired on somewhere and they say, well, here's what we're going to pay you. Like, okay. Because you usually need a job. And same thing with women. Once you get to a certain weight that people deem to be overweight, then that's when your salary plummets after that. So women don't have that lower end, I don't think. They didn't mention it in the article, at least, that it's sort of the thinner they are, then the more attractive they are, which is kind of weird. But on the upper level, it's basically, no, now you're overweight, so beyond that, you're either fat or you're not. And the same thing sort of goes for men, is that you're either fat or you're not, but we also have that lower end of it, where you're either too skinny or you're not. So there's it's like, this is where you need to be to make the most amount of money at your job. And I mean, people can complain, you can whine, you can piss and moan about it and say, oh, it's not fair, they should do something about it. Which I kind of agree with, but that's the way life is. Life is not fair across the board, so it's just a matter of having to deal with it. So for now, instead of trying to force social change on millions of people, that is probably not going to happen, it's probably best, for me anyway, in my head, to go, well, then I need to get down to a proper weight. Not just for health reasons, but obviously for financial reasons now as well. which sounds really bad because now you're thinking, well, you shouldn't have to lose weight to be who you are. No, we shouldn't, but we do have to. It's whether or not you feel that it's right that we need to do that is irrelevant. The fact is that in order to get to where you need to be, you need to be the proper weight. It's like that all the way around. And it's a sad state of affairs, but that's the reality that we need to deal with. And, I mean, there are plenty of people that are out there that are saying, no, it shouldn't be that way. You should, fat people work hard too. And we do. That really, our weight probably has nothing to do with, physical jobs. I can understand that because you're looking at them going, you obviously don't do anything. You sit and watch 10 hours of TV a day and then sleep for the other 20 or 12. It's 14. Shut. Different hours. I was talking about somewhere else. So that I can understand. And for something like that, I get why they wouldn't hire someone. If you're going in and saying, well, I want to be a lumberjack. Like, well, you're 380 pounds. I don't think you're going to be able to do the job. Same thing that if someone says, well, I want to be a fireman. It's like, well, unfortunately, you're 4'11" and you're about 90 pounds. You probably aren't going to be able to do the job. Not everyone can do every job. It's as simple as that. And you can complain that it's not fair. You can complain that it's bigoted or prejudice or whatever you want to say, but it's a fact. There are some jobs that I would never be able to do. And there are some jobs that you'll never be able to do. We need to sort of accept that and say, okay, well, good enough. But I don't think that it's right to look at someone and say, okay, well, because you're fat, then you're stupid. Because that really doesn't make any sense. Or you're, oafish, you're going to be lazy, not actually do any work, things like that. It is because, but I get it. I understand where that comes from. Same thing that they say, they're skinny. There is that jittery, Ichabod Crane vibe that people get. I understand where that comes from. We know it's not true, but we have to actually have to look at it and say, okay, well, I understand where that kind of comes from. Because there are reasons why stereotypes are stereotypes. And it's one of those things that is unfair, but it's something we have to deal with. So I'm going off on a tangent here. Anyway, I'm going to put a link to the article down below. It's from 2011, so it's a few years old. But it's just something that's interesting. It's very, very short. It's like 2 quick little pages. And it's from Forbes. So I figured, it was an interesting little topic. It's nothing really major that we can look at. Although I may have started a little bit of a dialogue, which is great. Start that below. Give me your opinion. See where you stand on that. And I feel like I've missed the topic that I was going to talk about. Same sort of thing, but all the little points just went everywhere. So I don't know where things are going from here. Okay. Oh, God, I went over again. You know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to leave it and say, I'm going to go over at some point. It's going to be somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes. Because trying to stay below 15 minutes, then I'm just not going to be able to say what I want to say. And there we go. It would have been below had I not gone over yesterday. Let that be a lesson to you. If I had eaten properly and not been a pig and just gobbled up everything in sight, then I would have had to tell that story and we wouldn't have gone over and I wouldn't be saying this sentence because I wouldn't be explaining why I'm over. And then I wouldn't have said that sentence which explained the sentence that I said about me going over. Anyway. We're just going to keep on going. So, go take a look. Take a quick read. It's interesting. For those of you out there that are now saying, well, now I need to lose weight to make more money, it's kind of shitty. But unfortunately, that's the way things work. But that's not our main goal. Anyway, our main goal is to get to a point where we're healthier, we're reacting differently to food, where we don't have days like I did yesterday on a regular basis. We're going to have one of those every once in a while. It's going to happen. Unfortunately, there's no way around it. Well, there is, but you know what I mean. Don't beat yourself up over it. I'm certainly not. I feel bad about it, but I'm not saying, well, screw it, obviously, everything's garbage, I'm not doing this anymore. No, I just had, day 127 was really bad. Day 128, just back on track. It's very simple. Don't need to lose anything. I just sort of held back a little bit of progress, and I think that's what bothers me the most, is the fact I made such progress, and it was great. I had lost so much during the week, and then I was like, I'll just have it back on in the day. Jesus, that's really bad. But hopefully everything will even out by the end of the week. Do my treadmill, eat properly, things will be good. So we're all right. But for right now, that's it for this video. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.